like with the introduction, I woke up this morning with a song refrain in my head, From a Jack to a King. And I haven't heard that song in many months, in fact, I think even years. And somehow it was in my head. And then I got almost the message for the title of this discussion this morning, From an Overdraft to a Draft. So hopefully it will clarify itself as we go on this morning. The song also put a few questions in my mind. First of all, it says from a jack to a king. And I'm not a card player, but if you consider the jack, what is the jack really? In Afrikaans, I think they call it a hofknegt.
Hofknegt. Oh.
But in a card game, you've got the queen, the king, and the jack, and they're the number cards. So it must play a role.
Yes.
But there's also another place where the jack comes in, and that's in the Union Jack of the British Empire.
Yes.
And the question comes up, union of what? And who is the jack? And isn't there something that says there's a jack in a phone?
Yeah.
When you connect something into the jack of a phone, it might be considered as a transmitting utility, or as something that when it couples, something can happen. Either sound can be transmitted, or perhaps something else can be transmitted.
You speak about sound. All the equipment used to regulate sounds is to use jacks. All the things we call it jacks.
Oh, right.
The wires you connect everywhere to the speakers, to the mic.
The connection unit.
All of us is jacks. They're called jacks.
All right.
Okay,
So
it must be something.
there we have the jack. Now, the theme this morning is from a jack to a king. And let's see if we can find something that's going to be significant in that respect. I want to deal with a document that was served on a friend of mine from Netbank Limited. And I'm going to discuss it. I want to take a little bit of time. Normally it's not rushed, but I try to get through it in a short period of time. But I'm going to take the liberty this morning to spend a little bit of time on it and rather go through it a little bit slower. For those that are impatient, please accept my apologies, but I think it's important that we look at everything this morning and get it on tape. If it's too slow, obviously just forward it, but the essence of it I think is important. This letter was dated the 1st of September 2010 to the members, Rooigom Landgoed in Hazyview, farm in Hazyview. And it's dear the members, not the head.
Not
they don't address the head, they address members.
Yeah.
Again, telling me that they're dealing in a different jurisdiction.
Yes.
If there's a body of persons and the head is missing, that body must be dead. If a policeman phones you and says, I found a body without a head somewhere, it's obvious that that's somewhere a murder has been committed. Yet they refer to this as the members. Then they say, Dear Sir. Again, the Sir. Serpent, surreal. To me, when I see that term Sir, I immediately think of serpent and surreal. Then the title of the letter, Offer of Banking Facilities, in commas or in brackets, the offer in inverted commas. So they write it in a style, capitalized offer of banking facilities, and then normal grammar, the offer. So what I decided was to deconstruct this letter in such a way that I give you the legal definition of every single word that you might not be familiar with, or that you make an assumption that you understand what they mean. Because when they say, we're making you an offer of banking facilities, are you comfortable with the term offer? Do you know what that really means?
I think most of us doesn't know what it says. It's accepted.
And then banking on its own and facilities. Do you really understand what the term facilities means as an offer? And then they go further and they say we again, we. So there's always more than one. Now in this instance, we're going to look at two people, two women, that are basically standing surety for and on behalf of this legal entity called Nedbank Limited.
Sure.
And we're going to discuss the fact that it's two women, first of all, and secondly, the implications of the fact that they did undersign these documents. These documents are undersigned by them, not by men, not by the chief executive officer or any of the directors, but by two women. I'm going to try and bring in a little bit of humor, but it's also very serious in the sense, if I come to you and I say, I had a serious discussion this morning with my ID document, would you consider me still sane?
Yeah.
There could be something seriously wrong, or something happened to me during the night.
Something wrong with you, sir.
Something wrong. Get some help, perhaps time for some sleep therapy or something. Now, listen to their first sentence. We refer, and we're going to look at every single word, to recent discussions between the business banking division of Nedbank Limited, in brackets, Nedbank, and the borrower as set out in clause 1 below, hereinafter referred to as borrower. Borrowers. They talk about borrower, so there's again a plural and a singular, and they always, or in most instances in their clauses, say singular means plural and vice versa. So they make it generic somehow. But listen to this, borrowers. Rooigom Landgoed, close corporation.
So hy is nou 'n borrower.
A close corporation is now a borrower, and they had discussions. And they had discussions with this close corporation. Is that possible?
No one exists.
No.
Not both of one.
No, there's someone must.
No one can talk.
Exactly. There must be someone duly authorized or duly represented, or acting as representative on behalf of this close corporation.
Jy sien dat dit word 'n totale toevoeg wat mense agterweg kry van hulle doen dit met 'n doel so.
Ja,
Is dit lig?
dis 'n absolute klug.
Yes.
Dit sit vir jou, dit sê vir jou, jy klim op 'n verhoog en jy gaan 'n akteursrol uitvoer. You are going to act.
It's acting.
And someone is going to direct it. And here they have it at the bottom. It says directors. Dr. R.J. Koza, M.W.T. Brown, Chief Executive. The chief, the head, executioner, executive. T.A. Boardman, my friend Tom Boardman. When I filed the claim against Nedbank, he was the chief executive officer at the time. So it seems they play musical chairs. From time to time, someone else takes the chair if the previous chair gets too hot or whatever the case may be. Now the next one is a legal or a name with an ID number. And I'm back at the point where we know that legal officials basically argue and say that there's no such thing as a legal person. There's just a natural person or an artificial person. I'm not a person. I'm a man. You are a man, and this is a woman. Still under the specific term of man. God created man in His image. So you are left out again, but I'm going to bring that back. The feminine essence has been ridiculed and ostracized and basically kept out of circulation. It's time that it comes back.
That's what this is yesterday. People in the business of the credit card, I say the persons must just come and they must just bring their ID books with.
Exactly.
Exactly speaking. That's what they advertise. I never saw it, now I see it's like that. Right. No.
So when the person is brought into the bank by a man or woman, they ignore you, the man or woman, but they recognize the person. And there you are. Lender. So you have a borrowers, two borrowers, and a lender. Nedbank Limited. Registration number, its successors in title, and assigns, comma, or its nominee.
Okay, so
Right.
dan iemand nog
So
meer.
we can look at all those terms and see what it comes down to. 3. Facilities. What is a facility?
Place where you can do something.
Yes.
It's like this, facilities.
Correct.
Iets wat iets, 'n plek wat iets akkommodeer.
Yes.
Ja.
This one, facilities. In terms of this agreement, or in terms of this offer, we'll see what it means.
Okay.
Right, 3.1. 3.11. Overdraft. Over something, they call it a draft, facility in the sum of whatever the case might be. Let's say 500,000 rand. Number 2, 3.1.2, commercial property mortgage / net bond loan agreement in the sum of 2.8 million rand, or whatever the case might be. Doesn't matter. 3.13, special projects. Ooh, there we've got some special projects for vehicle and asset finance. Vehicle and asset. Remember what the South African Reserve Bank own literature said? Banks acquire liquid certain liabilities and change it into uncertain illiquid assets,
Ja.
or a bank loan. In the sum of, there's in the sum of again. Right, that's basically the offer in terms of their facilities. Then they go to that was the farm itself, the first borrower. They go to the second one and they give him a dismally lower one. So the close corporation gets a bigger facility than the so-called man, because most people that go into the bank, when they say give me your ID, regard it as their ID number. It's not your ID number, it's an ID number evidencing something else that you are the beneficiary of. The only contributing beneficiary, in fact. But they go further and they say hereinafter collectively referred to as the borrower facilities. Duration. The overdraft facilities are demand facilities, granted on a fluctuating basis without a specific expiry date. Do you remember what we said about the condition? That it depends the existence of an obligation or subordinates the existence of a liability under a contract to a future determinable time. So could it be that they talk about the duration here really as a term? Because it says a duration of some time period and it says without a specific expiry date. Why would they do that?
Ja, dan is het eerder termijn als wat het dan tijd gebonden.
Exactly. So what you have here is almost an open checkbook.
Ja.
As long as you keep this facility running, as long as you're capable of servicing this facility, someone is going to derive a security interest over your security of person.
Klinkt zo, ja.
Can you hear and see how the words now tie together? When we start talking about what do they derive from? What interest do they derive, and from what or from where? Here it says under the duration. That's paragraph 4. No excesses will be condoned. Accounts to be operated within approved limits at all time. So they put in your little square box based on financial statements, based on the production capacity, so-called, of this farm or the close corporation. So never ever mention anything about unlimited commercial liability, which sadly it's going to appear at some stage, and then we'll see what they're going to do. The next one, interest. To make it very clear, the interest rate applicable will be linked to Nedbank's publicly quoted prime lending rate, the prime rate, from time to time. So they hope you're going to keep this facility open without extension or without a specific expiry date, and they can fluctuate the interest rate at will from time to time. You'll just have to abide by it once you've signed this.
Wow.
En dus dan jy die gevolg daarvan dat mense naderhand nie meer daai bedrag kan betaal nie.
Precies.
Want sy interest het dit nou onmoontlik gemaak om die ding te kan bekostig. Terwyl toe ek dit geteken het, kon ek dit bekostig, maar nou kan ek nie meer. So dit is 'n klare vangslaggat.
We planned it.
Yes, and then you must ask yourself, well, if this is the case and they're dealing with a limited liability company and with a closed corporation, the other borrower, could it be that that entity also acts with limited liability in the public?
Yeah.
Do that? Does he? Does it? Does it? Yes. Because people say, well, if I operate in the public, I need public liability insurance. Public liability insurance. So when your legal person or your juristic person, that capitalized name with the ID number or your birth date, indicates a closed corporate or a limited corporation that needs to be indemnified in the public by limited liability insurance. You need to derive something else because you so-called don't have the liability to deal with it. When in fact you do.
Oh. So
When you step back from this and say, no, I'm not that legal person. I'm not that juristic person.
what I see and understand now is that's where we get it. Because you had it in the first place, they turn it around and make it a pretty big.
Correct. You've been revenued again. You've been republicked.
They found the truth and they just made it, turn it around.
Correct.
For their benefit.
Yes.
So it's the truth.
And they hope that people are going to act in ignorance,
Yeah.
and then afterwards they can say ignorance is no excuse. You signed it.
It's funny you verzekeren.
Limited liability insurance.
Ja. So die onbeperkte, hulle het dit gesien. Hulle weet dit.
Nou weet jy het onbeperkte
Ja.
kommersiële aanspreeklikheid.
Dus hoekom hulle dit kom omdraai en vir jou sê, hulle weet jy moet dit hê, nou te beperk hulle dit.
Presies.
Ja.
Of hulle beperk jou eers en sê vir jou, nou moet jy beperkte aanspreeklikheid versekering kry. Want jy gaan nooit genoeg hê om te doen wat jy moet doen.
Ja, maar ek weet dit nie geweet nie, dis hoe ons gevang.
Ja.
Nou vind ons die waarheid uit.
Ja.
Nou kom ons
Dus kom ek aanhoudend vra, hoekom jy versekering uitneem? Jy het nie versekering nodig nie.
Jy het dit klaar. Hulle is slim en het geleerd.
Jy het weet, ja.
En wat jy betaal daarvoor.
Jou regte, jou morele regte bevat dit alreeds. Of die feit dat jy leef,
Klaar is dit.
het dit klaar vir jou gebied in die vorm van, want jou lewe is van onskatbare waarde.
Dis so.
Druk hulle dit uit.
Jy kan 'n lewe vervang of regmaak.
Kan nie.
Maar jy kan nie goed kan. Yes.
And even if someone get lost, someone goes into a mountain and they get lost,
Ja.
they don't spare any cost. They send out
Ja.
immediately a
Ja,
search
dat is
party.
gebruik om het te
They'll
doen.
send anything and anybody to
Ja.
try and go and find that person,
Save a life.
get them back where they're supposed to be. So let's put interest under the loophole or under the magnifying glass. So can you see the interest rate applicable will be linked to the publicly quoted prime rate. So they've got a public rate from time to time. The penalty interest is a rate equal to the ruling South African Reserve Bank purchase rate. So be careful that the South African Reserve Bank on their own or unilaterally don't decide we're going to put up the purchase rate. Then you can have serious problems overnight, never mind over time. The repo rate from time to time, times 2 plus 10%. So a small change in the repo purchase rate times 2 plus 10 gives you quite a substantial percentage, especially the higher the amount goes.
Is that the same as the penalty rate? What did
They call that the penalty interest rate.
Well,
That means
okay.
if you can't service your
Ja. If you don't
the
pay-
current
Ja.
interest rate. The default interest rate applicable will be a rate determined by Nedbank, the default rate. So up until the time where you default, That's determined by them.
Was agreement, it is sort of agreement, can I say? Of was die ooreenkoms tussen julle. Wij can change what we want, but you can change nothing.
Precies.
That's not right.
Yeah.
And that's not an agreement.
Yeah,
At all.
two people cannot go on any agreement or anything, and both must give their input.
Precies.
How can they do it another
Precies.
side? It's not right.
Because they deal with these legal entities
Yeah.
that cannot speak for themselves,
Yeah.
that cannot move unless something or somebody moves them.
But on their side, they are the only ones who can handle it. You can do nothing, even if you are the right person, you can do nothing from that side also.
That's the perception.
But it
No.
looks like they're changing the
Yes,
rates
but
there.
now we're going to change things.
Yeah, I know, yeah, now.
Because we have the ability. Once you understand that you have the ability or comprehend that you have the ability,
Yes.
then everything changes.
Yes.
Then you can change whatever you want to. In respect of any overdraft facilities, and then they carry on. So I'm not going to elaborate too much on that at this point in time. Fees in general, excess fees and whatever, and all the other stuff, undertakings, warranties, domicile. There you're back with domicile. Where do you reside? I don't reside. I live
Yeah, where is it? Yeah.
in my own body.
Yeah.
If you want a domicile,
Can I stay someplace, yeah?
I'm going to tell you, I'm going to notify you, stay away from that trust, it's mine.
Yeah.
Where it resides is none of your business. None. That's
Yeah.
why it's not applicable. Carry on through. Then, at the end, they say, we thank you. We thank you
Thank you.
for the opportunity to submit,
Wow.
submit
Yeah.
this offer. They don't force it down your throat, they submit it,
Yes.
this offer, and trust
Wow.
that it will meet your requirements. So there we are back with the word trust. So in terms of the negotiable instrument definition and the law on negotiable instruments, is there now a note on the table?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes,
That's the
here it
note.
is.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's a firm offer because it's signed by two people.
Two people, yes.
Two people for and on behalf of Nedbank Business Banking Division. Two signatures. And it's done faithfully.
Faithful.
What faith are they referring to?
Yours faithfully.
What are they referring to? Who are they referring to? What faith? The faith in what?
The system?
Yes,
Works.
the faith in the monetary system as explained by the South African Reserve Bank own literature, exit policy and the stress in banks.
Ja, kan jy dit Engels met dit doen?
Excuse me.
Yeah.
The confidence in the system, in the stability of the banking system.
It's like serving the God.
So they are faithfully
Yeah.
serving this, but what they don't realize is both of them are women. And secondly, their immunity against suretyship claims in terms of the Suretyship Act Amendment in 1971 has been repealed, not revealed, repealed or abrogated. That puts me in a very difficult position because I don't like to act against women. I want to act against the director or the chief financial officer, preferably a man.
Yeah, of course yes.
So these two women are now in a position where they basically sign for and on behalf of Nedbank, where they solicit someone to say accept it for and on behalf of the borrower. So there's the consideration. And if you put it in as equal consideration, if there's no honor, someone is going to have to take a claim against them in terms of the public policy, in terms of the suretyship rules and regulations or procedures, and both of them, I sincerely hope, are well indemnified in case they dishonor this instrument. And now I'm going to discuss it and show you how I use this offer, first of all to recognize it as a negotiable instrument, and secondly that I do an acceptance thereon, and that to make it irrevocable and complete, all we need to do is deliver it on them, which we have done already. So in essence, this thing is concluded.
Yes.
And now it's not an overdraft anymore, it's now just a draft. And it's now a time draft and a site draft. I turned a time draft with certain stipulations into a site draft. The moment they lie eyes on this, they have to deal with it and balance their books, which is all that needs to happen, which is so evasive or seems so elusive for most people, especially in South Africa. So let's go through the mechanism or the procedure, how to do the acceptance first of all, and then secondly, how we draft it and present it as a draft. I'll start again at the back or at the top. Nicholas Johannes of the family Joubert, non-domestic, care of 46 Campbell Street, Valhalla, Centurion, with square brackets around the postcode, circa, colon, 0185. It's framed and a cancelled post stamp to tell them that I am the Postmaster General. In fact, I'm the Postmaster specific, but that I've given valuable consideration and the stamp is cancelled as far as a revenue stamp. So I have already made provision for the revenuing of this cargo, and this cargo is valuable.
Wow, that's shocking.
And I'm the captain. I'm going to use my ship, and the cargo is also mine. So I'm going to create a manifest that's going to order someone to shift some cargo from one place to another, and it's not what they are going to expect.
And again, you do it in blue specifically.
Yes, it's my venue. I come from my venue and I come to them in a different venue, and I do it with a ship. We have to do it with a ship because it's maritime admiralty jurisdiction or banking law. So Nedbank Limited in that capitalized style, I put it in and I put it in black. Sorry, you wanted to ask a question?
We never knew what we could do. Was also we also follow you up. You have to do certain things only at the post office or the lawyers, or I only have a right to do it. You cannot do it. There's certain rights we also have what we can do.
Correct.
So we learn.
If they do it, we can do it as well.
What you can do by proxy, you can do directly.
Yeah.
So when you represent a lawyer to act on your behalf, in essence, you also have the right to do it yourself. That is what is called the power of attorney.
And I think you need to refer into the inkomsten.
The revenue stamp, yes. Yeah. Well, we just put it in such a way that there's no confusion, or that we disclose everything that we do. That no one say, but why did you do that?
Yeah.
Because they do many things, or they hide many things in their own documents that they did not give disclosure on,
Yes.
and yet they say at the bottom, we trust that this will meet your requirements, not their requirements, your requirements. Should you require any other information or clarification, please contact Jenny de Klerk on 01375949110. But that's after you've signed it.
Yes.
Now once you've signed it and they want clarification, they say, well, sorry, you've signed it.
Yes.
You've accepted it. It's now in terms of the standard terms and conditions, which I'll show you later what I do with. If the terms and conditions accord with your requirements. So if you are in accord with that and you think that it meets your requirements, kindly indicate acceptance by having an authorized official sign this letter and return it to us. And there I refer to one of the members of the close corporation or someone who stands surety on behalf of that juristic person with the ID number. And I'm saying, fine, I'll do it. I can act as a temporary holder for this instrument.
And again, if you look at the very beginning of the document, the way they write your name, and now all of a sudden they gave you a choice at the end of the document. It's totally
contradictory. Precisely.
Yeah. Hide information.
In fact, it's false conveyance of language.
Yeah.
And unless you understand the language, unless you make a point of making a distinction between the different venues and the different styles, you are continuously going to run into serious trouble.
It is like a second language or another language, like you said. Legally, you must have the ability to look through these things, huh?
Yes.
To see what they mean really.
But it's easy once you recognize it.
Yeah.
We were taught at school that you write in a certain grammatic way. English grammar is very specific in terms of its rules.
Yes.
But if it's a different style, take notice of it. Don't ignore it. Some people say, well, it's just to show out on a file. No, it's not.
No,
It's not just to show out on a file.
that's the smallest thing.
It's a specific style that shows a specific venue.
Yeah.
And I use it as such. Then I say regarding offer of banking facilities, just as I did it, that there's no discrepancy, and that I can refer specifically to that and say, that's what you did, that's your offer. So in terms of offer of banking facilities, exactly the same. So what I do is I now tie the words in their document into mine, and mine lies superimposed on top of this document. And that there's no confusion or misconception regarding that. And I make it for the attention. I call someone to attention. In the army, they call privates to the attention by a general.
Yeah, because you're not speaking to a body something. You're speaking to a person.
Correct.
Yeah.
But they call the lowest rank in the military a private and the highest a general.
Yes, that's right. That's the other way around.
And we leave general, we look now at specifics, and private is a different venue. So, attention! The private woman, Jenny de Klerk. Not the woman acting as a private in the army, but the private woman, Jenny de Klerk, acting in her capacity as business manager and as duly authorized representative for and on behalf of Nedbank Business Banking Division.
Now, is she the same person that signed the document?
Yes,
Okay.
but she signed it in a capacity.
Yeah.
It reflects on the paper something else.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what Jenny de Klerk looks like.
Yeah.
If you line up 5 women and one of them is Jenny de Klerk,
Yeah.
I won't be able to identify her.
So,
But on this document I can. If I go there, I can see a signature signed by accommodation for and on behalf of Nedbank Business Banking Division. And there's a signature. Excuse me, it's a real signature. And the other one is Barbara Venter. So at least I know now that I have a suretyship. It has been signed.
Yes. Yeah.
This document is not a blank.
And you can use it as a document om die handel te dryf.
Verseker, want die is regte nou, hier is regte bevestig. Hier is sekere regte in wat hulle self toeëien op grond van sekere bepalings en sekere voorwaardes. En die oomblik wat jy dit aanvaar, is dit voltrek.
Ja.
Dan is daar geen omdraaikans op dit nie. So pas op dat jy dit net so aanvaar, of pas op dat jy nie behoorlike klaring kry dalk nie, of uiteensetting van wat dit beteken nie. Nou die rede kom ek dit doen is om te wys dat meeste mense doen dit sonder om daarna te
Ja,
kyk.
verseker.
Ja.
En ek gaan vir jou nou wys as deur die terme gaan. I'll show you as we go through the terms what it means. And the other one as well. The private woman, Barbara Venter, acting in her capacity as credit risk manager and as duly authorized representative for and on behalf of Nedbank Business Banking Division, Nedbank Limited. Thirdly, to give them their grace and tolerance, and to, as I explained, that I don't want to act against them, I give them the benefit of the doubt. If they understand this instrument, they will know to escalate it higher to someone who's going to deal with it accordingly. So I have to put in, to whom it may concern.
Yeah.
I leave the back door open for both these women to indemnify themselves, to make sure they are indemnified, and to go to someone else and say, listen, you need to deal with this document, because if you don't deal with it, then I'm standing in with the liability for a change. Can you see how this thing becomes almost like a hot potato? The higher it goes, the hotter it gets. where people either don't want to have anything to do with it, or they have to pass it on, and that's what I wanted to happen with.
And you know, the way that you do it there is so full of mercy, because they still have a way to get rid of the thing.
Correct.
A way to get out of the thing.
Yes.
Although they are guilty, they sign.
Not necessarily. Again, I've got nothing against either of these two women. They might be doing their work in good faith.
Yeah.
They say
Not
faithfully.
But they can be accountable, held accountable for what they
Yes,
sign.
without understanding what it implies when you sign on behalf of such a legal entity.
also-
Maybe they're not even aware of the
I
fact that
don't
they
think
are so
they are.
vulnerable.
I don't think they are. Not at all.
And we'll give her the benefit of the doubt. So, but I'm making it open to whom it may concern, who does understand what's going on here, and who will have to deal with it. In fact, they shall deal with it. If they don't, it's going to have repercussions for them, or repercussions for them, that's going to cost them dearly.
Yes.
Now for a change. Right, now I say, dear sir, just as they spoke to the members, without taking into consideration that there are women involved, I do the same now with the consideration to say, dear sir. I'm not speaking to those two women, I'm speaking to their paymaster.
Yeah.
Because their paymaster is Mr. Dear Sir,
Yeah.
or Sir.
Yes.
He's the administrator of this reorganization bankruptcy. So why would I address them? I brought them to attention,
Yeah.
but I'm addressing Dear Sir. Now I'm telling Dear Sir something as well. I'm saying to him there's a maxim, and the first maxim, and it's bold printed, that all men and women know that the foundation of law and commerce exists in the telling of the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
So you're using one of those business what again you say?
Maxims.
Yeah,
Spellings.
spellings. You're using that because that is there's a security in that.
Verseker.
Omdat dit aanvaar is as besigheidsbeginsels waarop
Ja.
almal moet werk.
Ja.
So nou gebruik jy dit.
En dis 'n ligte waarskuwing.
Ja.
There's a slight warning as well.
Ja.
That all men and women know that the foundation of commerce and law is the truth and nothing but the truth.
Yeah.
So if you avoid the truth, or if you try to depend the truth, you're running the risk that you're going to commit financial and legal or lawful suicide.
Yeah.
Beware. Caveat emptor. Beware. That's a first. That's my foundation.
Ja.
Because I'm coming in truth, and I'm dealing with it as such, and therefore that's what I put on the table in terms of my acceptance, is that I bring with me the truth, and you try to go against it at your peril. It's your prerogative. Second one, now I give a guarantee. It's guaranteed that all men shall have a remedy. Not perhaps, or might have, or may. All men shall have a remedy by the due course of law. Be careful that I turn something into a self-authenticating agreement that ends up in estoppel that I'm going to put somewhere. I'm warning you up front. If you want to go that way.
And you know what, that is another business, dit is ook 'n besigheidstelling. Dis die volgende een.
Ja. Ja. All men.
Daar moet redemption wees.
Dan moet. Dis gewaarborg. Ons sit met die Nuwe Testament wat reeds volbring is. Alles is reeds volbring. So daar's nie 'n kwessie daaroor nie.
Maar dis vir my nou, dis nou vir my insiggewend dat jy dit so doen, want hierdie is 'n stelling wat almal hoop, wat jy gesê het wat aanvaarbaar is by almal, waar volgens alle besigheidstransaksies werk. Net soos dit die waarheid is, so is daai een ook 'n stelling.
Hulle volg op mekaar, eintlik.
Ja.
Ons sit vir hulle, dit is die waarheid en dan gee kom deur.
Ja.
So, out of a perspective of rebutting that, please come to me and tell me that is not guaranteed. Tell me that there is no remedy in by the due course of law. I'll accept that, if you can prove it, but you can't. If a remedy does not exist, comma, or if the existing remedy has been subverted. Now this is since I came back into my own country in 2008, this is what they try and do. They try to subvert the existing remedy. And I gave them some leeway. There's an old saying, give a man a rope long enough and he'll hang himself.
Yes.
I just gave out rope continuously, especially with Nedbank. Nedbank is now in a very peculiar position, that they are now, and it's now 3 strikes and you're out. This is the last strike as far as Nedbank is concerned. The first one was when I made my appearance in the High Court on the 14th of August 2008. The second one was when I contracted the agreement on an implied overdraft facility, or overdraft facility. And the third one now is accepting your offer. 3 strikes and you're out. You'll have to deal with the directors of your new acquisition partner, which is HSBC, and tell them why you act dishonorably in terms of the public policy. It's going to pose a few questions to a few Chinese people and someone else for a change. So be careful. Now, in terms thereof, if the existing remedy has been subverted, then one may create a remedy for themselves and endow it with credibility by expressing it in their affidavit. And that's it. We don't need to climb a mountain. We don't need to go to a court or anything. We just need to endow itself with credibility and expression in an affidavit of truth, attested to by a notary public.
En dis ook om jy die publieke notaris gebruik.
Ja. Om dit te bevestig. Ek dra die waarheid in my hart. Ek het nou die inligting gekry en om hierdie goed te hanteer, en nou sê ek goed, ons doen as dit nodig is. As hierdie ouens nie oneervol is nie, gaan dit 'n suiwer besigheidstransaksie wees. 'n Baie lekker besigheidstransaksie. Want verslag aan 'n boere fasiliteit bekom wat geen rentelas op sy plaas gaan bied nie. Dit gaan 'n groot rentelas terugskryf na die Republiek toe, en Nedbank hoort eintlik streng gesproke, want hulle het die mandaat om dit te doen, hoort trots te wees dat hulle die vermoë het om dit te doen, want ons skep nou die vermoë om dit te doen. Daar's nou geen risiko betrokke nie. Barbara Venter in haar kapasiteit as 'n risikobestuurder gaan eintlik kan huis toe gaan. Sy gaan nie meer oor risikobestuur hoef te besleg nie, of besluite te neem nie.
Sure.
The next one, the legitimate, the lawful political power of a corporate entity. Take notice, a corporate entity, not a man or a woman, is absolutely dependent upon its possession of commercial bonds against public liability. Why? Why?
Because they work with the public.
Besides that, they tell you in your face that they're a public company with limited liability. They have to find something else in order to stay in honor if they transgress, because they don't have unlimited liability. We have the unlimited liability. They have to indemnify themselves because they or it, that corporate entity, is lacking in liability. But it doesn't lack in obligation. It has all the obligation that we wanted to have, because we have all the liability we need to deal with it. Because no bond means no responsibility. Responsibility. A piece of paper cannot respond. Only a man or a woman can. So if there's not, in terms of this corporate entity, someone with insurance moving this piece of paper, it cannot move. Period. There's no discussion around it. But they try with these mental gymnastics, try to make you believe that, well, there is some power somewhere. No, there is not, unless it's bonded. And if it's bonded, then I accept it. Then we can deal with it, because then you're going to get a neutral ruling, or you will have it to your benefit, and the bargain will sort itself out the way it's supposed to. But if it's not, there's a limitation in it.
Can I say something?
Yes.
It's like you want to buy a property, for instance, and somebody come and pay it for you, and then the guys they paid it to you, come to you and says, we just want you to have these documents and sign that you'll pay it back to us. That's not what I mean. If you sum it up, this guy said, you've went for a loan, and they took your note and they do some analysis.
Yes.
It's like somebody come and pay it for you.
Yes.
I pay your car for you,
Yes.
and now the grass asks you to come and just pay me again for the car.
Correct. For your own property.
For your own property.
But you need to add an interest.
And just
burden
add interest
towards
with you
that.
and me, yeah.
Yes.
And make you liable for it and everything.
Yes. And then they have the audacity to say, yes, but the bank needs to make its money.
Yeah, yeah.
Why
You must misuse you to make money.
Correct.
Nothing for you.
Well, besides that, I have a specific issue with Nedbank in the sense that they sponsor a so-called $1 million golf tournament
Yeah.
yearly. With whose money? Or with whose liability?
No, that's a problem.
How can you give out $1 million worth of liability to someone else based on hitting a small white ball into a hole, and you say you're a limited liability company?
Yeah.
Where do you derive it from?
Yeah.
That on its own should wake you up in front of the TV when you doze off, when you look at the Sun City shenanigans going around.
Yeah.
And I'm not against sport. I'm against sport funded by someone or something that uses people's liability and suck the living daylight out of them in order to do that.
It's exactly the same situation with the minister with the smart car, 6 smart cars. I mean, waar krijg je geld om my smart cars
Correct.
te gaan koop? Van die inkomstebelasting.
Besides that, we allow them to do that.
Yeah.
Brunel, that's my point. We also need to understand that we need to take responsibility because we have the responsibility.
Yes. En as
We
jy
have the responsibility.
kyk na die mense wat so swaar kry, jou hart word seer as jy vir dit kyk.
Ja.
En hulle kry swaar ten koste van 'n sisteem wat hulle niks anderster as pionne maak nie. En dis nie nodig nie.
Correct.